Hello and welcome to the Pulse Life Podcast, episode number 3. I'm your host, John. Thank you for listening to last week's episode. It was a little bit all over the place, so I apologize. I had been returning from the hospital and it was a little bit loopy. I had a blocked intestinal tract and chew your food, everybody. That's the short version of it. So last week's episode, I was a little all over the place. But I got into some reflections that I think might have been a little bit valuable. Kind of came apart towards the end, but go check out that episode. Check out episode number 1. All of that is going to be on the Post Lift podcast. That's going to be at Spotify, YouTube. Check them out there. YouTube, by the way, has video, and the Spotify is going to be audio only. I'll try someday to try the whole video thing on Spotify, but we'll see. So, those two areas, and then you can check out my Instagram. It's at the Post Live Podcast. I also have a TikTok at the Post Live Podcast. Literally everything is under that umbrella. I have a link tree in my bios pretty much everywhere, so you can just follow everything if you want. So interact with me, especially on Instagram. That's when you can message me. But past that, that is business. Today is going to be a little bit all over the place, but we'll start off at the top with an update. So when I started this show, like I told you, I've been pursuing law enforcement, and that's kind of my goal with part of this podcast is to just reflect on that and see where things go and kind of track my progress. And I'm going to attempt to do that when I go to academy. I'm there 5 days a week, and then I'll be home on the weekends. So you'll have to bear with me in terms of whether I'm able to push stuff out or not, and if I'm alive enough or if I have the mental capability. But so needless to say, law enforcement is on my mind, and training is part of that physically, and that's part of this podcast, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But from the top, I will say that I did get the job. I will be working for a police department. And God willing, it will be August that I start academy. So I have, a few months here between now and then. And I'm excited. It's been a 2-year process for me to get hired somewhere just because I have no background in terms of law enforcement. So I got weeded out compared to other guys who had prior experience in like the military, or they were already certified law enforcement officers. So I had that at a couple different departments, and I don't view it in a negative way. I actually learned a lot from those experiences of getting turned down, and it was a really great lesson of resilience and patience for me to get to the end here. So it's been a big payoff, and it's kind of the end of the beginning. Now we're at the actual beginning. So it feels good. There's a little bit of letting go and just breathing for a little bit, but I will start work in a little over a week. And my life is going to change, and I hope that you're here along with me while that happens. So yeah, big change, a good change, and I hope that I'm a good officer for my community and the people around me. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of physical and mental, emotional changes, but I'm willing to take those on, and I'm excited for them, honestly, because I want the challenge. That's been my big thing in it. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there so then you'll kind of know where I'm going, because in the past I've been a little bit like, oh, well, I'm not going to say anything yet, but I did get the job. Unless I break both my ankles or they decide that something's awful, I have nothing in my past, but still, I should be starting. And I feel good saying that. It feels really good. It's a little daunting to be like, wow, holy crap. It's a little bit of an oh crap moment, but I think that's a good thing. So in terms of the physicality with that, like I said last episode, I wasn't able to run my last PFT. My department runs them weekly for us new recruits, and so I didn't run it last week, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm very glad I didn't, because I would have been dead. I had the Chiefs interview later that day, and that all went well. It was very, very, it was much more of a formality, very ceremonial. I got a challenge coin out of it. That's pretty cool. I got to speak to the chief and meet him for the first time, and my deputy chief was there as well, and I've I've interacted with him a bunch, but it was a really cool experience. Very formal. Nothing too crazy, but it was a good thing. But I digress. This is the Post Lift podcast. We're here for fitness stuff. So I didn't do that last week, and I'm so glad I didn't. The reason I say that is I took a couple days off after that. I decided that, it's time for me to test myself again after being in the hospital and losing 5 pounds and not eating for, close to 30 hours and just being completely cleared out after exiting so much material from my body on both ends, not to get too gross. So I was weak and I didn't do that PFT, so thank God it didn't happen. The reason I say that is I tested myself out a couple days later and I did a run. And for the standards to pass and get hired, you have to make a 1.5 mile run in 12 minutes and 28 seconds, I think it is. And I was at 12:38. Now, some of you might be like, oh my gosh, that's only 10 seconds. But it's bad for me because usually I'm running, I think my worst time has been a completion time of 11 minutes and 45 seconds. My best, I think, it was an 11:10. So I was substantially worse compared to where I typically am. I think part of it too was changing how I was running. There's a funny thing where when you've been doing something physical like that for so many years, running, you get used to a specific pattern, especially if it's long distance, because you're just supposed to be in a mode. It's more of a technical thing compared to just brute force, like a sprint. And so my critique that I got from my deputy chief was, hey, your stride is not very long. You have a very short stride, and you're losing time and distance on that, and you're exerting more energy because you're just making smaller steps. And the funny thing, too, is I hop when I run because of that. That's been something that's been a problem of mine for my whole life, to the point that my nickname was the Gazelle in high school when I played soccer. And he said, you look like a show pony out there. So during this new run that I did, or whatever you want to call it, after the hospital, I was like, all right, I'm going to try to open up my stance. And it just felt so weird because I'm getting a bigger stride. So I don't know if that had anything to do with my time, if I was just psyching myself out. I also ran in Vans in flat shoes. I suggest not doing that. The whole next 2 or 3 days, my left calf and my quads, and for some reason my shoulders, were just dead. Especially my left calf. I just was stretching that thing nonstop throughout the day, and it's luckily fine now. But yeah, time was not good. I was huffing and puffing. I didn't have much food in my system either, so I think my energy was just poor. But yeah, that was very interesting to see, and I was just thankful that I didn't do that PFT afterwards, because man, would I have gotten smoked, and I would have not felt great. But luckily, because I've already passed it so many times, and I only had to pass it once to get hired, but luckily I've passed it so many times that I've kind of proven my point to myself and to them that I can do it. Obviously I want to do better than I have in the past, but still, I just still don't want to have that on my record, to be like, I had this problem happen and now I'm so crappy at running. So that's what happened. Let's see what else happened in my this previous week. So this kind of goes into the next portion of the show, I guess. Formatting of how I'm going to do my training. And this past week, I kind of played around with an idea of running one day, another day doing strength training / Olympic weightlifting. And then the last day will be kind of a hypertrophy based, bodybuilding day where I'm focused on, a pump and some more isolated exercises. So I started off this week with that run. I only did 3 days this week just because I was, recovery time. I had fewer days to work out. So recap-wise, it'll kind of be short today. But so that first day, running, like I said, just kind of left it at that because I just had nothing in the tank. The second day, I got into a strength, kind of a strength training phase just to test that out. And I tried to do some Olympic weightlifting. And I have a post on my Instagram and my TikTok, kind of me recapping some of those strength training things. So the first thing I did was a bunch of benching. Benching's kind of new to me in many ways. I've done it in the past, but not in a consistent manner. I did it a little bit in the beginning of my training days when I was at, I guess it doesn't count as benching, but when I was at Planet Fitness, I did the Smith machine. I would bench on that. I had no friggin' clue what I was doing, and just the range of motion on that sucks anyways because it's very constricted. And then a little bit when I went to my commercial gym, but really nothing substantial, especially technique-wise. I didn't really have anything. And then once I got into Olympic weightlifting, you don't bench press pretty much. Like most of the time when people do it, it's for shoulder health and shoulder strength, but it's just not something that's really focused on in Olympic weightlifting. So I just didn't really have much time with it. So I've been getting back into it with the purpose of strength, and I just kind of enjoy it because it's not something I've really done much of. I really enjoy pressing movements. Like my favorite thing, other than the split jerk, is probably a push press or a strict press. I just love the feeling of kind of having this full body experience of being under a weight and getting it up. It is so, there's such a huge mental relief off of that, being able to get a weight up. And then for the jerk, especially a split jerk, it's just, there's such a huge payoff of that. It's such an aggressive movement, and it's snappy and fun. It's definitely my favorite movement out of the three things for Olympic weightlifting, between the snatch, clean and jerk, and the clean and the jerk. So anyways, benching just hasn't been really much of a thing for me, and I'm trying to grow my chest size. And I just thought that would be a great way of doing it. You know, I'm not going to be doing anything too crazy like flies. I don't have the means to do that necessarily. Like I'm sure I could figure out a way of doing it, but I just thought I'd stick to something basic that's a strength-based thing that will also grow my chest a little slower compared to, you know, having cable flies and all that crap. But yeah, it's just really a good emotional and mental challenge and physical challenge whenever I do that. Feels really good. So I started off with that, and in the video, my arms are shaking so bad. It looks like you put me in a room where it's negative 140 below. You know, like so bad. But I'm moving weight, not a substantial amount. I'm only pushing like 195 pounds for 2 reps. I want to get 2 plates on there to get to the 225. So that's kind of my goal right now. And then I'll build on from there. That's my goal right now for the bench. But it just feels good. Even if I'm weak and I'm shaking, it shows that I have improvement in something. And that's what I really enjoy, is when I get enjoyment out of something, but I know that I can improve it on it. That's just like, that's crack to me in terms of the gym and kind of life. Like, oh, I really enjoy this, but I know I suck at it, but I want to keep going. So it's a great match. Second thing I did was some hang power cleans. Really great explosive movement. So let me think. What did I work up to? I think I want to say like 185. 185 to 195, I think. So, you know, I'm hoisting the weight up with the barbell. I'm wearing straps on my hands, so I don't have to worry about a hook grip while I'm doing it, to just like absolutely destroy my hands while I'm, you know, doing the reps. And I did a kind of a low hang power clean, so I went down to kind of mid calf with the bar, came up, caught it without going 90 degrees in my front rack, and man, was it tough, but man, did it feel good. I don't know why, but I think I'm getting some static here. I'm sorry, guys, if you're hearing this. Anyways, really powerful movement, great for energy, and just having such an explosive movement. It's almost like jumping. It's all body, all encompassed, and I just really love that. And I also had it as a way to be like, all right, let's see kind of where I'm at with weightlifting, because maybe I can build off of this. Maybe I'll get to doing a full clean. Maybe I'll get into a clean and jerk. Like I said in previous episodes, I'm not going to worry about my snatch right now, at least. Like maybe eventually, but not right now. I don't love it well enough to get to it now. And I hate that I'm saying that because I shouldn't really, but so yeah, just a really good payoff feeling, kind of similar to that, that feeling with the bench, but I was suffering a lot more just because I think I fried myself so much with the bench, but just really feeling my feet through the floor and pushing off of it and just, ripping that bar up and engaging my lats is such an interesting feeling that you don't get when you're just doing like isolated movements. It's such a full body thing, and it's so aggressive, even compared to like a deadlift or a squat. There's the speed. I think it's the speed that really does it. It's such an explosive thing, and it feels really good. I almost feel like I'm a wound up spring that just wants to be let off. And when I do that movement, I'm just really just like, rah, breaking through. So if you want a good movement in terms of strength and speed and just power output, a power clean is huge. And if you can do a hang power clean, it fatigues you even more and makes you work hard. So highly suggested if you have a barbell or, at your gym or at your home. Try something like that. And even if it's just starting with the bar, go for it. I remember when I first started Olympic weightlifting, even with like 20 pounds on the bar for like snatching, I was so tired and it kicked my ass because I was doing like high reps with it. But it's just such a weird feeling of taking the bar from the ground and then swooping it up to over your head. It feels so weird in the beginning and it kicks your butt, but you get a lot of payoff from it in the long run in terms of increasing your technical ability, but also your strength and speed output. So yeah, if you just want to start off with a bar and try out some of those things, like whether it's a muscle snatch or a power clean, really great thing. So play around with it. That's my challenge to you. Third thing, I did behind the neck snatch grip push presses. That's a mouthful. So pretty much what you do is you put the bar on your back like you're going to squat it, but then you move your hands outwards in the bar, and you want to get your hands on the outside of the knurling brakes or the knurling lines, whatever you want to call it, into a snatch position. And then you really center your body, feel your feet on the ground, make sure they're very even, and you want to press through kind of the mid portion of your foot to like the front of your foot, kind of like you're getting ready to jump, and just really explode like you're trying to break through the ceiling. And the bar will end up traveling up, and you're kind of pushing it as you go. It's mostly the momentum of your pushing with your body, and you have to catch it and hold it up above you with outlocked arms. That was really great. I did three repetitions of that for each set. I think I did like 5 or 6 sets. Oh, don't even ask me what I got into that weight-wise. I want to say, I think I was like 165 to 175. Really great movement, really fatigues you. The only thing that sucks out of it is if you don't know how to catch the bar on your back after a repetition, you can really screw yourself over. So pretty much, like I said, you push the bar up, you have it, locked over your head, as if you're, for those listening, put your body in a Y position, like with your arms up above your head, like you're doing the YMCA, but kind of like wider. Now imagine you're holding on to the bar with a bunch of weight on it, and you have to just hold that. So after that, when you have to come back down, it's this weird thing that you kind of just figured out over time of almost like bouncing and catching the bar. I'm trying to like do it and so then I can explain it. As the bar comes down, you dip your body slightly and then you come back up and then travel down with the bar. It's a really weird thing. So you're kind of like, it's almost like your body is acting as a brake on the bar. It's slowly moving it down and then causing it to stop. And then after you're back in that starting position, and then you can just go for another rep and do it again. So really fatiguing, but really good for strength, really good for overhead mobility, especially with your shoulders, obviously, and your traps are, I would say that's one of the bigger things. Your traps and kind of your, what's the word I'm looking for? Your thoracic spine area. So your mid-back. Great for that. Really killed me, and it was a nice finisher. So I only did those 3 things. My thought with this whole strength portion of my training that I'm going to try to do, I'm playing around with this, I want it to be less. I want less is more at the end of the day. So I'm probably going to try just like maybe 3 strength movements, maybe even 2 on a day, and just really hammer away at it. So, it might be a day of just squatting and then something after that, or it might be a day of benching and then push pressing, and that's it. Something to just like really hammer away at and make it a fine-tuned movement. Really focus in on it so then I can get good at it and perfect it over time and get stronger, compared to being like, oh, well, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that, and just have like 15 things on your list. I'm a big believer in less is more when it comes to training. It's crazy. I remember some of the programs I started out with. There would be like 8 things I'd have to do. And it's like I would either spend way too much time in the gym, or I just feel like I wouldn't push myself well enough because you take more breaks at the end. I personally believe you're taking more rest sets. You're probably doing less repetitions, less weight, and it's not a bad thing. I think it works. For me specifically, I'm just a big less is more person. Focus in on something, really perfect it, and go from there. Zach Tellender, who I referenced in my first episode, kind of the whole reason that I've really leaned into fitness. He's kind of my guy. And I think, just side note, if you don't have a person to look up to in your fitness journey, really look into that. Find somebody who will be a motivator or a good river of knowledge for you to go after. Zach is kind of that person for me, and it just helps you stay motivated. It helps you stay informed. Make sure that the person you're following is quality, because there's a lot of bull honky out there, a lot of charlatans. That's a big topic for Zach too. That's really interesting. So, anyways, Zach's current videos have been really interesting, just in terms of his training, because I feel like he's kind of going with this less is more path. He'll do just like a bunch of dips and then pull-ups, and then do like maybe 1 or 2 accessories along with that. Just like 4 things. But he hammers away at his weighted dips and his weighted pull-ups and just does like a crap load of sets. And I really love that. And that was kind of my mindset after I watched him. And it's been kind of my mindset for a while now. But even watching him, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing here. It kind of just reinforced that for me. When I had a coach, I personally believe she had a lot of that same thought. We've never had that conversation, but yeah, she really made it really easy to follow, to just be like, hey, here's 4 things you're going to do today, and just leave it at that. There were days that were higher. Those are usually kind of deloading days or specific blocks I was in my training, because you have specific phases when you're training for a strength sport. But usually it was more of a less is more approach. And man, that is such a great thing. If you want to play around with that, try that too. That's my other homework to you. All right, 3rd day, bodybuilding stuff, hypertrophy, whatever you want to call it. So I really love accessory work and just getting a pump. I know what I like. I know that I like push movements. I love getting a tricep pump. It's one of my favorite things. I love getting a chest pump. Also one of my favorite things. So pushing movements like that, love it all day, every day. But I know that that's not all I can go along with. I've been enjoying doing arms more, kind of similar to the benching. You just don't really work on your arms all that much when you are doing Olympic weightlifting. You are typically, you might do some curls here and there, but it's really more focused in like an arm health sort of way. It's not actually there for like, oh, I'm going to get my friggin' biceps jacked. So I've been enjoying doing that. Before I started training for my job, I just started hammering at my biceps, and I grew them up pretty well. And I had done that in the past, so I know I'm capable of doing it. But I always feel like I get to this point where like they get not huge, but substantially bigger, and then like something happens. So I just really want to get to a point in my life where I'm like, I can get past that roadblock. That would be really nice. I'll get there eventually. So that's kind of my goal, is like, all right, now that my PFTs are done, maybe I can focus on doing that. So yeah, I did some curls. I have a band in the corner, so I did some tricep pull downs just to really get those. So I kind of did more of an arm focused day. Really good pump out of that. Felt great. I did some pull-ups as well. I'm going to try to get into those. Kind of piggybacking off of Zach, I really want to get into pull-ups and dips more, just to build up my back and my chest, as well as my triceps and my arm and my biceps. So that's kind of where I am at with that. That's kind of where my training's been this past week. And yeah, it's kind of the post lift of my week. So yeah, I'm going to play around with it. We'll see where it goes. With the knowledge that I have this job now and going into training for academy, I don't know if my department's going to have me do specific things. I'll be very curious to see if that's something. Us guys, we're still all in contact with one another, and we have another PFT coming up on Tuesday. Hopefully I do well on that. So I'll probably run tomorrow, I think Sunday, and then have Monday off just to rest, and then hit it hard on Tuesday. So yeah, this whole 3-day thing, I'm playing around with that. Some of the factors that go into it is definitely recovery, between my sleep and my food and water intake. That's really huge. We'll see what that is like, because I'll probably have to up my calories to be able to sustain all of that. They're all very, other than the isolation days, the third day, the first 2 days are very fatiguing. The calories that you burn when you're running are just crazy. And then the physical fatigue I'm going to put on myself with doing like an Olympic weightlifting / strength training day after that. Jeez, I'm crow. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll swap it around, so then like I'll run one day, and then the next day I'll do isolation exercises, and then the one after that I'll do strength training. I don't know. We'll play around with it as we go. This was kind of my beta testing of it. So we'll see where we go with it. But it kind of feels nice having a little bit of variety. There's a little bit of a payoff every single time, and I think that I'll be able to know that like, oh, I can swap days around and feel how I'm feeling, and that's kind of nice. And I'm kind of programming it myself, which is not something I've really done before. Like I have done it before, but usually it's like in terms of, oh, I'm going to take something from this program I have from somebody, or oh, I'll take some things that I had from my coach back in the day. But now it's just kind of me and feeling what my body feels like. I'm just going to try to get in touch with my feelings. No, I'm just trying to feel healthy and feel good. That's been kind of my mindset with training recently, other than, law enforcement. So yeah, let's see what else we got on the list today. Oh, it was Memorial Day, right? Was that what it was? I'm pretty sure it was Memorial Day. Let me look. Yes, Memorial Day. I always get Memorial Day and Veterans Day mixed up, and I feel horrible about that because I feel like those are two things I should know. Memorial Day went by recently, and a common thing for Memorial Day is the murph challenge. I will start by saying that I did not do the murph challenge. Let's just get that out of the way. However, it is something that I do want to do. For those who are not familiar with the Murph Challenge, it is a challenge in honor. It's kind of like a hero challenge they quote it as. That is this physical test that people will do that is really grueling and hard. And you will typically time yourself while you do it and see how you fare. And you're usually wearing a weighted vest. I think guys, it's like 20 pounds, 20 to 25, and girls, I think it's like 10 to 15 pounds they'll usually wear. The test consists of first a mile run, and then you're supposed to do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 bodyweight squats, and then you finish off with a run. That's how you're supposed to do it. Some people will break it up with how they do it. Like they'll run a mile and they'll do like a set of push-ups, then a set of pull-ups, then a set of squats. So you can kind of play around with it, but I don't want to say the correct way, but kind of like the formatted way is that mile and then the 100, 200, 300 mile format. That's not something I've done before. I've thought about doing it a ton of times, and I kind of regret that I didn't do it this past Memorial Day. And I've just been reflecting on that. I think I could have maybe gotten like a half Murph out because that's something people do. I don't know if I would have been able to do the whole thing just in terms of my health, but it's something that I want to get to. So that's going to be another, just to add it on top of everything. I have so many goals already going, and I feel so bad for you guys because I'm like, this is what I want to accomplish. But I would like to try to do a Murph challenge eventually. I don't know when it is that I will do it, but that would be a really cool feat. I've never really gone into that zone. So that's kind of why I'm fascinated by it. I kind of like in terms of physical things like that of like, can I do that? I don't know if that is unique to me or just like being a guy or I don't know, just being somebody who's interested in fitness. But like sometimes there are physical things where I'm like, I wonder what that is like. I wonder what it feels like. I wonder how well I would do. I wonder if I'm capable of even doing it in the first place. So the Murph Challenge is something I definitely want to try out. I think the mile in the beginning would be easy. The mile at the end would suck, but I'd be able to do it. Pull-ups. That would be pretty tough. I can usually crank out like 8 to 10 reps for like multiple sets. So like maybe I'd be able to do it. Push-ups I think I could do. And then body weight squats would suck, but I'd still be able to do them. I think the pull-ups might be the hardest thing. Pull-ups and the last run would probably be the two hardest things. So yeah, maybe stay tuned for that in the future. That's something I definitely want to try out. I know my brother-in-law, he's a chief in the Coast Guard. He usually does something like it. I don't know if he does the full Murph or I know he has done it. I don't know if he did it this year. I'll have to check with him. But yeah, that is definitely another feat of strength that I think would be kind of cool to test out for myself. So yeah, today is kind of a more classic post-lift podcast, giving you a rerun of what I've done. In some weeks, like I said, they'll be more reflective, kind of like last week, and then, this week it's more fitness-oriented. Let me know what you think. I'm running this one a little shorter today. I hope you don't mind. But I'm going to try to get some training done today. I might actually do a little bit more bodybuilding stuff just to really get that flowing. I've been trying to really up my water intake as well with my creatine intake. That is the hardest thing. If you aren't using creatine, please use it. It's like the easiest hack in terms of feeling healthy, mental clarity, muscle recovery. The caveat to that is you have to drink a crap load of water, and I struggle with that. When I was doing training for competitions, I used to be able to drink like 1.5 gallons a day, easy. I peed all the time, but I would just like crank that water. It was fine. I think part of that was I used to get those like Mio flavoring things. I don't know if those are any good at all, but that would get me through the day. That, seltzers, and I just guess the will to get through it. So I know I'm capable of doing it. I have this huge water jug with me. Let me see how many ounces. I think this is a half gallon. I have just a jug I got from the store, and I've been carrying this thing around with me, and it's been great just having that beside me, because it's a kind of a nice reminder to get my butt into gear, and it's been going okay. I'm definitely increasing my capacity to drink. It's just another thing. It's another goal. I think that's what I'm taking away from this podcast is maybe I have too many goals. Maybe that's something I need to focus on. I just want to achieve a lot in terms of physicality. I guess that goes back to last week's episode where I talked about action and attitude. You know, if I have this attitude towards things, I have to actually do it. I actually have to do the work to be able to get the thing that I'm thinking of. So yeah, let's see. Let's recap. I want to drink more water to go along with my creatine intake. Also, it's just good to drink water. I want to figure out this whole training thing of, running, strength training, and then a accessory hypertrophy day. Train well enough for my PFTs weekly, and then train well enough for my academy in the future. Other goals are to stick to this podcast, talk to you guys, be authentic. I think sometimes the quality of this podcast will be good or bad just because of I'm trying to just sit here and talk to you and blabber. I do have things on my phone to kind of keep me up to date with things, but man, I can be all over the place. But yeah, I just want to be here for myself and for you guys. I guess the last thing I'll leave on for this episode is just where my head's at. I kind of started out with this episode talking about getting that job. I feel good. I'm excited. It still doesn't feel real just because I think it's been, a 2-year long process, and I've tried with some departments and hadn't gotten in, and that's okay. They all told me, hey, keep sticking with it because you'll become a cop eventually, which was really great advice. I had that most specifically from one chief, and he's like, you are going to be a cop. You just have to stick to it and be patient. I'm like, okay. That's exactly what I did. So it feels good. It's sinking in a little bit more every day, but it still doesn't feel real. I think once I actually get there for my first week, it's going to be great. So yeah, I feel good in that regard. Last night I actually got only 2 hours of sleep. I don't know why. Sometimes there's just those nights where you're uncomfortable and moving around. My dog, she's this tiny little thing. I'll bring her on sometime. She's imagine a border collie with a bunch of brown fur on her. She still has the black and stuff, but super sweet dog. She does this thing where she will just scratch and scrape at the bed, the couch, the floor, and she will turn around in circles 1,000,000 times before she lays down. And I have carpeting in my room, and it's 3 in the middle of the night, and I just hear, and then turning around, flop, and then all of a sudden, and I'm like, oh my God, lay down, please, for the love of God, lay down. Drove me insane, but eventually I was like, oh, I actually have to go to the bathroom. That's what's happening. I don't know if that ever has happened to you, but sometimes I go to bed and I'm fine, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the night, you just move a certain way and you're like, holy crap, no wonder I haven't been sleeping well. I'm just full of pee. So I went, and then eventually I fell asleep, and then I woke up 2 hours later because of the sunlight. So complaining. I need to do less of it. Anyways, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed me recapping a little bit of my week in terms of fitness and kind of playing around with this idea of a 3-day thing. I've got to play around with rest days and what that's going to look like. Again, I think I'm going to do it off of hey, I feel like this today. Let me train. because I think that's way healthier. Like, yes, there's days where you have to push yourself, but I think it's healthier to be honest with yourself and be like, wow, I just do not have it today. I'm going to take the day, and then I'm going to come back to it tomorrow with it like a fresh day. It's not going to be, oh, I'm going to take a whole week off. Like, usually try to get there the next day. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope that you stick along with me as I try this job and we get there. And if you want to follow me at the Post Lift Podcast on pretty much everything, Spotify, YouTube, where you can listen to me, and then Instagram, you can check me out, interact with me, and then I have TikTok as well, just because TikTok's TikTok, kind of have to have it nowadays. But I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a great month, year. Try to get some sleep, drink a lot of water, keep training, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.